Let's do it.
Yeah, we are live. Bella, did someone punch you in the face this week?
Did anybody punch me in the face this week? No, but I did the other total yesterday, and I felt like I got punched in the face by that. So close enough.
Did you do what format did you do? 30 minutes like they did at the quarterfinals?
So I did it in class. Yeah. So I did it in class. We had 10 minutes to clean, 10 minutes to bench, and then 10 minutes overhead squat. And it was so much fun. I enjoyed, because I don't get to jump into class often. So I enjoyed kind of watching other people take on the challenge and kind of try to figure things out. It was just so much fun. So
I'll tell you this right now. No matter how the three of us split it up, Nico single-handedly would beat us all in that.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, easily.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Bella, didn't Buffalo Bills beat you guys up pretty bad this week? You got punched in the face there, right?
I don't want to talk about 10 to 31. I don't want to talk about
lost,
it.
We lost as well. I'm going to talk about football today.
Okay. Well, let's just, for anyone who's joining, obviously you guys have gotten to know Bella a little bit over the last couple weeks, and we've been super grateful and happy to have her jumping on as often as she can. You may not know Nico as well if you probably know his work better than you know him if you don't actually know him. Nico, what was the first year you went to the CrossFit Games? Like 2012 or 13?
13. So the year Sam Briggs won, and Rich Froning won his third. Yeah.
And you've done how many regional semifinals in Europe?
Well, I started doing regionals back in 2012, and that's where I met Dave Castro flew out, and Greg Glassman was there. It was in Copenhagen in Europe. And Tyson Aldrott flew out, and for you OGs out there, Tony Budding was there running the media team. And that's kind of my way into it. And
you live you're Danish. You're from Denmark.
Yeah, yeah, I'm from there, and I'm good friends with Frederick Egidius, former 5-time Games athlete, and his not married but girlfriend Annie Thorsdottir. So I kind of got a fast track on
and father
CrossFit there.
He's a daddy.
Yeah.
He's a daddy.
He's a daddy. Almost twice. Another one coming.
And one of the
that's crazy.
One of the most consistent and under talked about athletes for 10 years in the sport. I mean, Frederick was a mainstay at the top of open leaders boards, always at the European semifinals. And you know those people well. And obviously Annie's been around forever. So you've had a pretty intimate opportunity to see some of the best in Europe for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, and Frederick's been in the top 100 of the Open 11 times, only matched by Rich Froning and Ben Smith. So
that's so cool.
And Nico is he knows a lot about competitive CrossFit. He can, pull out some stats like that from the top of his head. And as you guys see, he's a huge fan of the NFL. He's a diehard Eagles fan. Obviously, they're having a great couple of years, and he occasionally sends me a double doink reminder.
Well, 3 in a row, right? You've lost 3 in a row so far?
Yeah, but we won 10 in a row before that, so whatever.
Well, that's
I always love getting messages from Nico on Sundays. It's,
yeah.
Hey, just reminding you, you're my favorite.
I've been quiet the past few weeks, but we'll be back.
And then in addition to all those things, you've worked on several of the CrossFit documentaries.
Right. So I've always worked closely with obviously Tyson Aldrott. Tyson was my boss, and then Sevan Matosian, who everyone knows, was like running the whole media team. So Sevan kind of gave me the opportunity in 16-17 to kind of revive his behind the scenes type stuff. It's still on CrossFit Journal. I did it in 16 and 17 in Europe. And then after that, I was brought on to the documentary team in some capacity, and then more and more. And then the past, well, not this year, but the 2 years prior, I was working alongside Mariah Moore as like on-site co-producing and directing, and then she kind of took the project with her back home. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of the documentaries as well.
So huge background in terms of media when it comes to CrossFit at the highest levels, and there's just some of the different areas that he's been involved. We have him on today because FitFest happened on the same weekend as the Dubai Fitness Championships. Patrick and I had plans to be in Dubai before we knew that FitFest even was going to exist. And so we didn't really have, it wasn't even really that much of a choice for us, but we were curious about it. We know
what would the choice be in the alternate universe?
Ooh.
I think that I probably would play
Split you guys
for
up?
the just play for the loyalty of the Dubai. I mean,
Right.
it's a good
that.
event. I have a great time there. It's quite frankly, it's a good opportunity, good contract. So there's nothing really like bad about it. I would have loved to be at FitFest. When I found out what weekend it was, I was like,
He was
any
so
chance you
upset.
guys could do it a weekend later? Like, because it'd be so easy to hit it on the way back, which I ended up doing with the Fall Series Throwdown in Milan instead. But we wanted to have someone there. We wanted to have someone there, and as soon as we had that conversation with one of the organizers of the entire event, because it wasn't just an elite. I guess it was a competition. We'll talk about that, but there were many things going on. So it's logistically a huge thing to manage. We asked if we could have some kind of presence there. We provided Nico when Nico said he was interested. And so he was able to link up with those guys and head down there and spent the whole weekend there. You may have seen some of the interviews that he did on our Instagram. But of course, just also getting the whole lay of the land behind the scenes, what that event was about. And so we wanted to invite him on to share his experience with us since we couldn't be there.
I did miss being in Dubai, though. I was there last year, and I don't what do you call it, the organizers, the head of Dubai, Saud, was kind enough to let me do event one before the athletes. That was probably my biggest experience within CrossFit, running 166 flight of stairs up to Burj Khalifa against Matt Fraser. That was like, all right, check.
I had actually a taxi driver yesterday that was from Dubai, and I was telling him that he asked me, "Have you seen the Burj Khalifa? Have you been in the Burj Khalifa?" I was like, "Actually, interesting story."
I've been to the top.
Yeah. That was so much fun.
PC, take it away. Where are we going to start when it comes to FitFest and Nico's experience there?
Yeah, Nico. Obviously, what day did you arrive on there?
I got there Thursday, so the day before, Thursday morning. I went over there with Andre Houdet, who was a good friend of mine, and he had a few athletes competing, so we could go together from Copenhagen. It's a short flight; it's like 80 minutes, so pretty easy travel.
Pretty easy. And you flew. I mean, how far was the airport to? Because a lot of people think, when you think
mile.
When everyone thinks the UK, they think London. But they don't realize like Manchester, Birmingham, all these places, they're a far distance away. And one thing that we take for granted as Americans is like whenever I tell people like I drove 4 hours to go to Chicago or whatever, when I talk to someone from Europe, like you drove that far. And so it's just kind of odd when I hear people question like me driving anywhere when we collectively, I know Bella has a huge road trip coming up and Brian's constantly making road trips, but it's kind of a big deal when you travel from, let's say, if you're flying into Heathrow and then you're going off to Birmingham. How far is Birmingham from, like, say, London?
It's a 2-hour train ride, but that's London city center to Birmingham city center. Then you're not there. Like your hotel is probably going to be another 45 minutes from London city center, and then you have to go to Birmingham and go to. This was in the outskirts of Birmingham, so it was not like it's right by the airport. So that was pretty convenient, but. Honestly, I didn't get to see anything. So, and there was a train strike, which also meant like a few people had to cancel. One of the MCs, good friend Chris, had to cancel on the final day because he just couldn't get there. So that was a shame.
Do you think that might have affected some of, I mean, from the looks of it, and we'll ask you about this. I mean, it looked like it was kind of a sellout. I mean, especially Saturday and Sunday, it looked like it was a full venue.
Yeah. It felt like it's always hard to know because there's a lot of people moving around and you can't really see. But like looking at the elite events, the stands were packed. And from my perspective, it looked like the stands were too small. So maybe they underestimated their possibility of getting people in. Maybe there's a set amount of people that could be in the hall. That's obviously logistics that I don't know the full details on. But it looked like, from the first glance, it looked like a success. But I think there's more than meets the eyes when it comes to the checks and balances of running a CrossFit competition.
Absolutely.
I have a question for you. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, and the as far as CrossFit goes, the people who are kind of involved with running this, their part of this event, have a strong affiliation with strength and depth. And obviously there was also a strength and depth competition that was happening simultaneously. But Nico, you and I and Patrick have been to some of the strength and depth sanctionals in those years. And I mean, the stands were packed for those too. So the guys in London that run these CrossFit events, they're doing something right in terms of marketing and advertising to get people to the competitions, or it's just a community of people that enjoy going and watching high level competitive fitness.
That's the question. Is it the high level competitors that are drawing the crowd, or is there already that kind of loyal, dedicated community fan base that are going to come to pretty much every single strength and depth event because they have so many and they're all very well attended?
That might be one of the things. Like, and I think Patrick Vellner, we were shooting the shit talking about it. He said, like, does it really matter if we bring 18 of these athletes in here? What difference does it make to get Jason Hopper and Alan Pepper? Like, are you going to sell another ticket to get both of them? Like, I love those guys. It was amazing they're all there, but do you need Brent and Pat, or could you just have Brent or Pat? Like, does it add anything to have another person? Could have been 4 teams of 3 athletes, and thereby cutting the cost. Like, I don't know. So, but it looks like there was a huge competition going on. In the meanwhile, like, they had a 3-person competition going on, the strength and depth. They had this ethics games going on, which is like high rocks with more difficult movements. And they had the British rowing championships going on at the same time. And they had the British championships in weightlifting going on at the same time. So it means there is a natural flow inside these halls of people there for some sort of fitness. So the exact numbers of how many bought a ticket, how many people will maybe competing, and thereby didn't need a ticket, and who was there to watch rowing, weightlifting, and who was only there because of these elite athletes. That's the breakdown I would love to see. I think it's an impossible breakdown to make. They have to make some sort of survey to do that. But that essentially is the breakdown that's interesting to see whether or not it's a sustainable business model they've created.
Absolutely. And even in Italy this past weekend for Fall Series Throwdown, there was an elite competition, but there were over 700 athletes competing. And the final day, I was able to speak with one of the core members of their team there for the competition team. And he basically was projecting from conversations he's had with people at the gates that in addition to all of the people that didn't, the athletes, I don't know if coaches have to buy tickets or not, but media, volunteers, whatever, that he felt like it was about 1-to-1, like the number of people that were there versus the number of people that paid to be there. And so that was like an initial evaluation from them. And it would be cool. I think surely they have that information, but it would be interesting to see.
Well, I'd love to stay more on the finances because, as we know, a lot of competitions have come and gone. And the problem with CrossFit competitions is, and we start at the top, the CrossFit Games is not making money. That to me tells me it's almost impossible to host a CrossFit competition and make money. There is people who are in the black. I'm guessing Madrid Championship is in the black. They have to be with that many people. Does Rogue make money? No.
It's expensive,
Yeah, Rogue is throwing money at it. I love it. It's amazing, but it's not a good business model. Maybe it's a good branding model. Is Wodapalooza? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of expenses to have a fitness competition in Miami.
Well, there's fitness competitions and there's fitness expos. Like, we have the festivals, which kind of FitFest, and then like Wodapalooza Miami. Those are fitness festivals that are getting a ton of people, and you don't know if they're there for the elites or not. Right, and you have that, but then you also have, Florida Grid League, who is doing it in fitness expos, where there's bodybuilding going on, there's arm wrestling, there's jousting, there's all these other types of fitness going on as well. And they're not, you wonder if people are actually going to these expos to see the Grid League or if they're going to see the bodybuilding shows. It's kind of the same, topic of conversation.
But I think it's the future of the sport, because I don't think CrossFit is enough to stand on its own legs in that sense. Like, even at the games, why isn't there other stuff going on? CrossFit could utilize that. Have the American Rowing Championships. I don't know, just off the top of my head. Like, do more stuff to get more people in there. And I think that was what they did very well. But one of the things that boggles my mind is, did they take a financial hit this year in order to take a smaller hit next year, and then in 2025 be in the black? That could be a pretty standard
business
model.
FitFest?
FitFest. Like, that's a pretty standard business model where you kind of build a 3-year model, and like, we need to be in the black in 2025. And as long as we're growing, we're in a good spot. If you're not growing, you're dying. Because they invited 18 athletes. They all got paid. Like, they got paid. They got hotel. I'm thinking they got a +1. We can ask Ariel when she's on. You got a pretty pricey hotel. I checked the room, and I wasn't staying at that hotel. So obviously I'm bitter. But if I just lowball the shit out of it, I'm saying $7,000 a person. You got 126 grand right there just for athletes. That's a lot. That's a big deficit to start a CrossFit competition.
Are you a math genius?
Right.
You do that in your head, or had you written that?
No,
down?
I have like a note.
I love this.
Damn,
good.
you should have just lied.
But even so, I checked the spectators. Let's say there were 4,000 spectators. I think they were capped at 5. It wasn't at full capacity. It went for $50 on average. The tickets I just checked. That's 200,000. Like with the renting that massive arena, it was like 3 arenas built into one. That's got to be another $100,000 right there. And
do they have to bring in their stands, or were the stands already existing?
No, stands look like they're maybe they already were there. You could rent them, but it was like not permanent.
Yeah, because that's a huge expense.
I was going to say, do you think if they had a live stream and they could pay for get ads on it, it would help the event moving forward? Or do you think it's not even worth having a live stream because you were there?
I think because of the format as we have it right now, the athletes were only on the floor in total around 30 minutes per day. So therefore a live stream wouldn't make any sense, because normally you have like a flow of different heats, like we saw in Dubai. Dubai did a good effort of condensing it to, I think, 6 hours. And it was like there's back-to-back stuff happening. But here you have one heat, and sometimes not even all the athletes on the floor. So in this format, I think they need to revamp the format a little bit for live stream. But they could have done a very cheap live stream. They could have just like put up a camera on each lane when the 3 teams going, and they could have done that for a few $100. It wouldn't have been expensive. But they definitely had some stuff going on in a positive sense. I'm just worried about the financial stuff. It looked like they were overextending themselves, and I'm having a hard time to see how do you double the revenue intake next year, because I'm sure that has to happen. There's a lot of money coming from the other competitions, but you also spend a lot of money hosting ethics and strength and depth in the rowing championships.
What about this stuff here? These are slides that Patrick's flipping through about basically seminars that the athletes were involved with.
Yeah. So
how did you become a participant in that?
So you bought a VIP ticket. I think I'm off the top of my head, there were 50 VIP tickets on sale, and we thought, well, those had to be expensive. You basically got PT with BKT, Fikowski, Vellner, Arielle Loewen, whoever was running it, who got there, Thura Helgadottir, Daniel Brandon. Like that should be a pricey ticket. Those were $200, and that's just not enough. Like you're lowballing it, and maybe you're afraid people wouldn't buy it, but that's too cheap. Like that's like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Bella, but that's like a regular PT in a lot of cities in the States.
I mean, yeah. Do you think the cost of it was because they didn't think the athletes were actually going to want to do it? Or was this workshop kind of within their, hey, we're paying you to come out here, you have to run XYZ amount of workshops?
I'm expecting the athletes have some sort of a contract agreement. I just want to say about the athletes, they had the best atmosphere, the best attitude throughout the weekend. They're always ready to do stuff, take pictures, and people loved it. And
good.
And you got a guy like Fikowski there basically running the show, and they had a blast, and it was a lot of fun to see. So I think they all had a good experience, and that is also a marquee thing to bringing it back next year. But if they want to do it, they have to do it in a more Wodapalooza sense, where you become a fitness festival, because you won't have that in Europe. But yeah, and on that they could do more in terms of marketing. They could do a better job explaining exactly what it is when you hit the website. But yeah, they had a lot of good stuff going on, and just do more of it. And they have an opportunity because.
You know, one of the nuances of what you've done over the past decade is having conversations with athletes. Sometimes it's off camera, a lot of times it's on camera. And people who have watched your work, and especially the documentaries, like you're doing a lot of those interviews that the athletes are either speaking in a natural setting before an event or warm-up area, whatever, or in a structured setting, post-competition interview. You got to spend a lot of time with these guys in an intimate setting. Like, speak about some of the maybe differences that you noticed in their demeanors, in their overall presentation. Were they relaxed, having fun, whatever?
Oh, well, this photo says it all. Well, basically, they had fun. at the games, the CrossFit Games is like a snippet of a whole year. Everything is culminating there, and people are so stressed. Maybe they have injuries, maybe they have stuff, and it's a livelihood, right? Not just the prize money, but that is what builds them the next year to earn revenue, to get good sponsorship deals, and not be forgotten in the space. The space forgets people very fast. So here they could just kind of relax and throw down. And they had a say in everything. There's one of the events where Brent deemed the handstand walk was unsafe for certain reasons. It was a little slippery. They had a ramp, and they decided let's do backwards handstand walk instead. So they had a good conversation with the competition, and they were just happy throwing down. And it was a lot of fun, like friendly banter going on. Obviously, it's some of the American athletes are more outspoken than a guy like Jason Hopper, Patrick Vellner, Brent Fikowski, compared to Zanoni, who's like, English isn't his first language, but they all seem to be very inclusive in terms of Pat eating with his mouth full in this clip, and that was kind of the atmosphere. People were just having fun. But when it was 3, 2, 1, go, they went.
They still competed hard.
Oh yeah.
It seems like it from what we were able to gather, because even in the first workout that had the machines, and Brent was like pushing it to try to get the win at the end of that workout.
Yeah. For people out there, you should try to do this workout at home. It's a 1,000-meter row straight into 2,000-meter opposite, 1,000-meter ski, 2,000-meter row, 5,000-meter bike erg. Jason Hopper held a 137 across the board.
And all three machines?
All 3 machines. And I was standing next to him like, wow, that's impressive. And when he was done, he jumped on the runner to help out Thuri cap off the 5,000-meter run that was going on simultaneously. Jason Hopper on machines is, second to none in CrossFit. Sorry, Roman.
The machine.
Nico.
Yeah.
Nico, do you think more competitions and festivals like this should be in the off season, or do you think actual competitions like Madrid and Dubai and things like that are more beneficial for not only just the athletes and kind of for them to market themselves, get opportunities competing, but also for sport growth?
I don't think there's a big market for stuff like this, because at the end of the day, I was left, in terms of seeing some CrossFit competitions, I was left unsatisfied. I want to see Brent. I want to see Brent here. I want to see him do a chipper. Brent won the handstand walk. I want to see Vellner do a walk-off finish and win an event. I want to actually see that sort of stuff. I want to see that stuff, and I want to see them throw down. It was fun to see, but it has a very limited market, I feel like. We do get to see stuff like that at Wodapalooza, I feel like, in the team competition, which has some of the same vibe, especially behind the scenes. But I can't see this being something goes on like everywhere. I feel like Touring Pro has some of the same vibe, where it's a little bit of a people coming together from all over the world, forming teams, maybe through a sponsor or whatever it is. But yeah.
Hey, Nico, can you talk about, it looked like the final day, all the athletes elected to wear a kit of an English soccer team?
Yeah, do we have a photo? Then I can
Was it? I thought it was just one team that did that.
No, I can run through the teams. Just can we bring up a photo? I should have one. So the team was Thuri Helgadottir, Daniel Brandon, Jason Hopper, Dallin Pepper, BKG. Who's the last person I'm missing here? One more person on that team. Well, we're in Birmingham. Birmingham's football team is Aston Villa. So BKG was wearing Newcastle is slightly above Birmingham. So BKG was wearing a Newcastle jersey. Jason Hopper's wearing an Everton shirt. I'll get to Daniel Brandon in a second. I remember
she's the other one on that team.
Arielle Loewen was wearing a Tottenham jersey with a Korean athlete on the back, and Thuri Helgadottir was also wearing, I think Tottenham. I can't remember what Dallin was wearing. Bring up the group photo.
I don't think.
See if I can find it.
The big one in the corner.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can see Dallin
right here.
There. Yeah. Dallin took off his shirt. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Brandon, of course, was wearing the home team of the city, Birmingham, Aston Villa, and she had a rat as the name on the back, and she got to pick her own number, and Daniel Brandon went with 69.
I love it. I love it. Stay on brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stay on brand even when you're across the world. That's awesome.
Never change. Yeah.
Why not?
So it's kind of an homage to European football, soccer, as you guys call it. It was cool. It was a cool twist. It was Cooper Marsh's idea. Yeah, so he has to get credit for that. It was cool.
By the way, Cooper did a podcast with Nico. Nico
sure did.
Is a pretty. I think it's a pretty good podcast. I listened to it on the way back home. Where can people go to find that?
I just changed the name because I just switched from only doing Danish to also having English.
Cooper didn't speak Danish?
That's no crap.
But
come on, Cooper.
So it's called Fitness for Time, and 4 with an F. And you guys should definitely tune in Thursday, as I'm being joined by the 5-time CrossFit Games champion, Matt Fraser.
I love that.
How else do you spell fitness then with a 4?
No, he's saying like the 4 instead of 4, like FOR, and it's a 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love that you called it Fitness for Time, because that is my favorite way to describe CrossFit. When everybody that doesn't know what it is, it's just fitness for time. Oh, what do you do for work? I talk about people who do fitness for time. That's what we're doing.
We've had some other guests on there recently as well.
I had Dave Castro on, and then I'm talking to Matt tomorrow and posting that on Thursday. So
that's awesome.
Pretty excited.
Well, I need it. I'll listen to it on my drive.
What did you think of the makeup of athletes? I mean, as you mentioned, there were some outgoing ones and some shy ones, but there's also some of the best we've ever seen, and some athletes that are relatively unknown or haven't really done that much yet.
Well, that might be actually my only knock was they didn't have enough UK athletes. I would have built a base around a little bit of UK athletes and then sprinkled these top tier athletes on top of that. Maybe even have a team athlete wouldn't work, but I would have more local athletes. That wouldn't work. That would be too harsh.
Wasn't Lucy there?
She's Irish.
Yeah, but she's Irish. Yeah, there's a few. Lucy McGonigal was there, but obviously Elliot was competing in Dubai, and maybe right now the UK. Well, they have Amy Kringle. She was competing as well. But I'm just saying it could have been nice to have a little bit more local flavor. But the makeup of the athlete was good. Like, you got Emma Lawson. She took 2nd place at the CrossFit Games. Arielle Loewen is 3rd place at the CrossFit Games. Same with Brenton Pat. And Dallin obviously took 5th. I do feel like I wonder how they made up those teams. Like, how did Daniel Brandon, Dallin Pepper, Jason Hopper, BKG, Arielle Loewen end up on the same team?
Well, I mean,
I love that.
There's definitely some kind of I'm not entirely sure, but they did the draft. They posted the women making.
But that was
picks.
a marketing blunder. I want to see what's the best part of the NFL season, other than
draft.
The draft. Yep. I want to see the draft. Do a live draft like this with the athletes.
That'd be so cool.
It'll be so much fun.
It gives all the analysts. It gives all the analysts
something
to do.
Yeah, it would be. It would definitely be cool. I'm under the impression that Danielle got the first pick in every round, and that's how she had that team.
Yeah, but that's not how the draft works.
But
here's the thing, though.
The drafts that we're used to work.
Even if she did have the first pick in every round, that kind of would be smart, because Rad being a UK company, like, she already has a presence over there, and she's got a huge, very loyal fan base. Everybody's down with DBE. So it would kind of make sense to kind of elevate her team a little bit more. Yeah. And she's going to give you a show. So you might as well give her a team that's going to put on the best show. And that's what she
did. And they did well. Yeah. The other teams did well. It was close. I mean, it's Kelsey Keel in I think the final event showed up in a Jason Kelsey shirt. And she just went, it was like a barbell cycling type thing. And she just went out there and destroyed everyone. I love that.
Yeah. Were there any athletes that caught your eye, surprised you, did something that you didn't know they would do? Especially maybe some of the ones that people don't know. There's Anoni, Jennifer Muir, Lucy McGonigal, Keel.
I kind of feel like at this stage of their career and this part of the season, people kind of did what I was expecting them to do. I was hoping to see something out of the ordinary, like, okay, Jake Fowler is still better than everyone else with a barbell, and Nick Matthews really strong. So no, I didn't see any they all were amazing athletes.
You say Jake Fowler?
Jack
Farlow.
Sorry, Farlow.
It's a new kid. You guys don't know him?
Yeah, it's new. It's up and coming. But no, I kind of feel like in a 6-person team, it's hard to make a big that big of an impression, other than when you're like lifting a barbell or on the machines. But yeah, I mean, Jason Hopper crushing everyone on the machines. You had Jelle Hoste and Brent Fikowski in there, and Patrick Vellner, and it was not even close.
Guess we know HWPL is doing some machines in the off season. Good to know.
Yeah, he's always been good at that stuff. But I mean, was there? What about on like the personal side? Did you get a chance to get to know any of the athletes in a new way? Some athletes you maybe haven't worked with before.
Well, it's funny. On the way over there, I was listening to a Sevan podcast with Jason Hopper, and after that, Hunter McIntyre came on, and he was kind of taking stabs at Jason like hard, and I was like, huh. I didn't really know what to expect of Jason and Dallin because I never really talked to them. Jason is one of the funniest guys I've ever been around, especially in a setting like this where he's kind of relaxed. So he definitely gave Pat a run for his money about being the funniest athlete to be around. But I do feel like it can be hard sometimes if you look at the new athletes to be in that setting, because if you got such loud voices like Vellner and Fikowski, not they're trying to like overtake the conversation, it's just who they are. So I think they could have done more to.
And those two guys in particular, not only are they some of the best that have ever done it, they're also really smart, just people. Right. And so that can be intimidating in its own regard.
Yeah, and Fikowski, he talks. When me and Andre were at the gym, we're about to leave. Brent came in and Andre said something, and then Brent talked for 30 minutes, and we're just kind of waiting for him to wrap it up, his thoughts on pull-up heights or whatever it might be. So you kind of need to know when you ask Brent a question, you got to have some spare time. But in general, it was, I think the athletes had a great experience. And I think the way Fikowski, obviously they had to do like tactics and strategy and stuff. Obviously Brent got a piece of paper and started writing it down. But the way he was inclusive, especially, I don't have the teams in front of me, which bothers me. The way he was inclusive with some of the other athletes, and he's very cerebral.
Team? Brent, it was Zanoni, Fikowski, and Nick Matthew. Yeah. It was Lucy McGonigal, Emma Lawson, and Jen Weir.
Yeah. So obviously, other than Emma's still a young athlete, even though she has a podium, and Brent's so cerebral, so he tries to like go into everyone's thought process and tries to include them, and he did a great job of making everyone feel very comfortable on that team. And I like to see that him kind of taking the mentorship role of the team. And I feel like a team like Daniel Brandon, it was like BKG, Hopper, and Dallin. It was just like the boys club. I'm going to include Danielle in the boys club, and they're just having fun with it. And they had some of the workouts, they just went out there, had no strategy.
It seemed like two pretty easygoing women besides that, Ariel and Turi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Turi was just like, whatever, it's fine. But she had Andre there, who's like, he's like Brent Fikowski in terms of overanalyzing everything. And fun story about the first workout. I don't know if I can say this, but I'm gonna, Jason. So Jason Hopper wanted to change every 30 seconds, maybe it was 60 seconds. And then Andre no. The man stay on the machines the whole time, especially if you got a big guy. And then they did that, and they wiped the floor with everyone else on that workout. So shout out to Andre for changing the tactics.
How did you feel about the design of the workouts in general? Keeping in mind this is meant to be a showcase. They're not trying to kill the athletes over the 3 days. You want to get maybe I would think you'd want to have a little bit of everything kind of sprinkled in. And the format was announced, and then the workouts were announced maybe a day or two beforehand. Haven't seen them play out now, and you can certainly run through them if you want. But what did you think about the layout of the format or the competition over the 3 days?
There are some good moments in there. There's some great races. They did some stuff where it's like the men racing against the men, women racing against the women, and sometimes it was everyone all at once. I would have liked to see stuff where they had a workout had been announced, like in the 2012 CrossFit Games for the teams. They had 6 benchmark workouts as the final, and you had to pick each athlete who does it. And it was basically like Karen, Fran, Isabel for time, like in one big stretch. Something like that could be fun, where you kind of have to Like, okay, here, I'm going to play this athlete here. I'm going to play this athlete here. But in general, they did a great job. I also, they were good at catering to the needs of the athletes, where they changed some of the workouts to change some of the weights to make it more viewer friendly, I guess. But there are some great races in there. But again, in CrossFit, it is difficult to watch a race, because if you're on a machine, like an echo bike, you can't see where people are. And sometimes with the reps, you can't see where people are. So it will always be difficult. When they did the first workout, however, they had like the little rowing boats where you kind of see who was winning, which was cool. However, that was a little bit faulty, because it wasn't about that. It was about finishing the 5K run. Mm-hmm. So whoever got off the machines first wasn't necessarily a winner. So Brent and Emma, I think, were first off the machines, but they had way longer to go on the run. So it ended up not really mattering who was in the lead.
So with FitFest, it was kind of more of just putting on a good show and having some races versus actual tests of fitness.
Yeah. It was, but it was very low impact on the athletes. I think that's what they wanted. They, like I said, they went hard when they went for it, and you can see in the celebration of the videos, like BKT was ripping that. He did 500-meter run. The rowing machine was like moving back and forth. So they went for it when they were there, and it was a good showcase for the athletes to kind of go head to head. But there is still a big gap in some of the. If you go take a Lucy McGonigal against Emma Lawson, that's going to be a little bit skewed. Like, I don't see a lot of workout where Lucy's going to edge out Emma. And the same with Brent Fikowski versus Sinoni. Like, what workout is Sinoni going to pull out a W there? So
maybe a pose off.
Oh, yeah. He's a handsome fellow.
Brent is a model now, so I don't know.
That is correct.
It'd be cool.
And Jack Farlow's alias Jake Fallow.
Jake Fowler.
Yeah, Jake Fallow. Hey, watch him next year.
I'm here for it.
Were there anything on the programming side of things that surprised you in a good way? So, whether it was the athletes' capacity to do maybe something with the 6-person worm that we haven't seen in a long time, or a wrinkle of nuance in terms of the design of the workout that you thought was clever or different or cool?
Yes, that is correct. I think it was interesting to see, like, people underestimate how difficult that worm is, especially the 6-people worm. Mm-hmm. So the teams winning the CrossFit Games, whether that be not winning, but placing top at the CrossFit Games, they get there because 4 times 1 doesn't equal 4. It equals 5, 6, 7. That's why Oslo is so good. If you rip apart the Oslo team, you don't have 4 elite athletes. You have a group that works together and just elevates each other, especially on the worm. Same with North Shortcuts this year. We've seen it many teams in Europe. The ability to collaborate on the worm is key to making a good appearance at the CrossFit Games. How quickly these athletes were able to figure out the worm. There are some pretty dangerous mix-ups in the first couple of attempts, but you just see the level of athletes, how good they are when they can, within 5 minutes, figure out their cadence on clean and jerks on the worm. That's impressive.
That thing, if you do have the chance to watch these level athletes, whether it's together or independently, get an information and then figure it out. It's amazing. At Dubai, they had deck squats. They've had deck squats in Dubai before, but they introduced a new standard. You couldn't pick your feet up off the ground. Mm-hmm. At first, the athletes were like, "What the hell? How are we going to do that?" And then I watched in the warm up area as one by one they just figured it out within 2, 3, 4 attempts. All of them were doing it, and you went and watched the event. And if you didn't know that they always did it that way, or that they never did it that way, you would think they always did it that way. They are so good at learning stuff on the fly. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, I kind of knew it going in, but Fikowski, he's going to be the analytical type, and he's going to know exactly what to do, when to do it. But then you look at Patrick Vellner, and it's like, he's exactly the same. He just talks less. Like, he's not going to talk about it, but Pat's the same. He has such sharp on-the-fly analytics, you wouldn't believe. And then then you see some of the other athletes, it's like,
and the thing he will say, and that he's always said, is I would prefer more events and competitions that we get less time to prepare for. That's like, he knows, he believes in his core that whether I'm better than you or not at the test, I'm better than you at getting the information now and figuring out how to do it quickly, fast, and efficiently.
Yeah. And I think that ability to just kind of, because it wasn't new standards, there was a backwards handstand walking, and then they had to do a triple unbroken pirouette. But the backwards handstand walking, none of them kind of had it, but like within minutes, everyone had it. But then you kind of get to see a little bit difference in levels. Like obviously Danielle crushed everyone, and Brent won on the men's side. But there are a few athletes struggling there. Maybe it's a little bit of reality check, how hard it is to be upside down for that extensive period of time. Danielle called it the hardest handstand workout she's ever done. So I'm not going to say anyone got exposed. It was just good to see people out of the element.
Nico, did you get a chance to watch the final workout from Dubai?
I think so, yeah.
It was also with handstand walking, and I would be curious to see to have the athletes from FitFest do that one, or the other way around, and see how they felt about it. Because pretty much, with the exception of Ricky Garrard, who smashed that workout, everyone else got to that last handstand walk and they had a problem.
Yeah. The problem is you can't kind of replicate it, because it was the accumulated shoulder fatigue over the weekend that kind of, I know for a fact, Manon Angones, she was like, she did all of them, but then the last one she failed miserably and kind of fell through, which happened to a lot of people.
It happened to many people. But it's cool to see that, it just happened to me on the same weekend, but that, something that we perceive these athletes to have proficiency with, that they are continuing, programmers, I guess, are continuing to find ways to add little wrinkles. I mean, that handstand walking course in Dubai wasn't crazy. It's going around a cone, only 2 free handstand push-ups, which we've seen over the last 2 seasons now, and like 25 meters, I guess, across the whole thing. But because of everything they had to do in between, because of where it was placed at the end of the weekend, you saw some of the like gymnasts in backgrounds, Claudia Gluck, Elisa Fuliano, these people that have, high skill on their hands. They were having a hard time with it. And so that's I would say, a tip of the cap to some of the programming.
Even at Down Under, too, they struggled with slalom handstand walking. And it wasn't because they're not talented gymnasts. It's just your shoulders are tired. And then if you have to kick up and you have to stay there, if anything touched any of the poles, you had to come back down. So the athletes that are used to kind of legs all over the place, or not really controlling where your lower half is going in your handstand walking, and you normally don't have to think about it, in that event, they had to think about it. So it's not something that's crazy new or innovative. It's just, hey, we're going to try something a little bit differently, see how you respond.
I do feel like programmers have a responsibility, and especially from the games and trickling down, to not get too far from the core values, because sometimes it seems like we have to do new stuff. I like when you're able to replicate a games workout in your own gym and see how good these people are. Now it's like, well, I can't even do it. So like, I don't understand what they're doing. And sometimes the game should be a spectacle, and you can do implements that you can't afford to buy at a gym, have like big logs or whatever, go swimming in a lake and have barbells there. But
just think about like the intervals workout that Adrian programmed at the games this year: box jump, step down, rowing, burpee box get overs on a high box.
Right.
Like you could go and simulate that in a gym.
Exactly. And
I think people should
do that and figure out how good Patrick Vellner is. Go do that. Like, you have no idea. I'll give you for random people out there, I'll give you a 10-minute time cap. What's the time cap? 7 minutes?
Well, it was you had to do it, rest, and then do it again.
Right, but there's still a time cap.
But I think that's the beauty of the sport. Again, like, I mean, I remember when I first came into it, one of the first workouts I heard of was Fran, and everyone knew like the top Fran times. So you can easily try to go out there, replicate it, and see where you measure up. Like, my 10-minute Fran is nowhere compared to Dan Bailey's, minute 40 Fran, but that's
not
a fun thing.
40. I don't think anyone's ever done that.
Yeah. But there has to be an evolution in these benchmark workouts. I agree to that, but it can't be so that we can no longer relate to it. And I think we still have to recognize there's still people coming into CrossFit who's new to CrossFit, and doing Fran unbroken, doing Fran RX is still like an mountain to climb.
Scares me. I've been doing it for 10 years,
Right.
and I still fear that workout.
It's a beauty of the sport, but it's also a pitfall if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah. I think that's I got the perfect example of that is when we're in Dubai, is that we had Andy Murray in the stand, just one of the ranked tennis players in the country. One time he was at Dubai, this year.
This actually, I was thinking about this earlier when Nico, when you were talking about, have something else that's happening simultaneously to the CrossFit Games, because you're going to get that crossover effect. Andy Murray, the Dubai Fitness Championships went back to the duty-free tennis stadium there in Dubai. And Andy Murray checked into the hotel the same day I did. And one of the competition organizers saw him there.
Because you checked in. That's why you checked in.
Yeah. 3 a.m. we got there this
Get Andy Murray on the show.
But we're doing the broadcast on Saturday afternoon, and the competition director, or one of them, Diego Centeno, he came up to me and he's like, so I took my headset off, let Derek do it for a second. He's like, hey, right over there, top row, that's Andy Murray watching this competition. So I went, talk back to the director. I said, hey, this is a place in the stadium. This world-class tennis player has chosen to come here and watch us. Can we get a shot of him on camera? And then Patrick actually had a chance to talk to him. Patrick, do you want to kind of share what Andy told you?
Yeah, so I watched him for the longest time because the guy who runs the tennis center, he was telling me, hey, that's Andy Murray up there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he was sitting by himself, and I was waiting for him at any point just get up and leave, but he kept on he watched every single heat for the first 2 events on Saturday. And I finally got the nerve to go up to him and talk to him because I was going to see if I can get an on-camera interview with him. And unfortunately, he was leaving to go work out, but then he was going to come back to watch the final on Saturday. But I just talked to him very briefly, and I'm like, what do you think so far? And he goes, and I quote, he said, it's fucking brilliant. And then I think the beauty of it is, like, he could, at the time, what he was watching, a lot of those movements that he could relate to, whether it be as a child in PE class, and he could watch the progression. He knew who was winning, especially when it came to the rope climb workout. He got to watch it Lazar because he watched 3 heats of women not finish it, but then when it came to the final heat of men, he knew the final heat of men were the top men, and he saw 3 of the top men, and Lazar, Luca, and Roman finish it, and he was greatly entertained by that. And he said, "This is," and like he said, it was fucking brilliant. And I think that's an important thing, especially tying this in with what FitFest did, is like you had a lot of fans there who probably never saw CrossFit before, and you had all these athletes out there, which can get really messy, especially with 6 athletes on the floor at some time, and they're doing crazy movements and they have no idea what the hell's going on. And I think that's the beauty and also the curse of CrossFit, especially as we bring people on and try to introduce them to this new sport, this new methodology, is we need to simplify some things, but at the same time, we can also show that it could be much bigger than something as simple as just picking them up a bar and doing pull-ups.
I mean, the CrossFit Games is not for normal people.
No,
it's not for normal people. And so when you go there, I guess for me, the expectation when I watch games athletes performing at the games, no part of me is thinking, yeah, I could totally do all of that. I'm impressed and I'm surprised and I'm excited to see the test of these, honestly, just human performance. Like, what are they capable of? But then CrossFit on its own, you have to do CrossFit to be able to do the games. You know what I mean? But it's a completely different thing. I think when people expect that they can do what the games is because they do CrossFit, it's not, I don't know. It's not what we're meant to be doing. It's not what people should expect from going to your local affiliate and doing CrossFit class. It's different.
Hey, Brian, did you talk to Andy Murray?
I didn't get a chance to, no.
For the people who don't understand how good he was, he's one of 15 people to ever reach all 4 finals of the Grand Slam.
Yep.
He played the majority of his career at the same time as Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, and he was basically the 4th guy in that conversation for a decade. Those are the 3 best to ever play. But it's the same as this is what I was writing about after the games this year. Yeah, it's the same as Pat Vellner just having his prime of the career lineup with Fraser, or Laura Horvath lineup with Tia Claire Toomey.
Yeah.
Nico, on the media side of things, was there a big media presence there? Did they integrate you guys into the event well? What did you think?
So they had their own media team, but that media team was kind of like circling around the whole festival, as Bella called it. So that means they're doing the rowing, they're doing the strength and depth, for lack of better words, average people. They did the athletics stuff. They also did the elites. I know a few people who there. Emma Lawson had obviously her photographer, Training Day Media was there.
David.
Yeah, and
shout out David.
And who else was there? A guy from Brute Strength. I forgot his name now.
Micah
Shoemaker.
Micah.
Yeah, Michael Shoemaker. Yeah, was there. There's a French guy I don't know the name of, but no, it wasn't big. And then because there wasn't that many media opportunities, I did a little bit of obviously the photos for you guys. I helped Andre a little bit with his athletes, which also happens to be pixel athletes. So if you double down on that. And I helped Fikowski to get some stuff for him. But it was definitely different than being something like Waterpalooza, where you kind of have to have a little bit sharp elbows to get some space. And, you know, your friends when you start, but you're like, I got to get my shot. So it was pretty relaxed. We had to figure out giving me full access. They weren't comfortable giving me access to the floor, field of play, because it could be dangerous and you needed experience to be there. And I pulled some strength, and they realized I have experience enough to be on the floor. But then it wasn't like, hey, I need to be there. I've been to the games 10 times. It was more like they didn't know who I was. And I tried to explain to them, like, the more I'm out there, the more photos, more content the athletes are going to get. That is going to be like rings in the water, and you guys want that. So it was good. I felt like the organizers were super nice. But again, I would have liked to see a more streamlined type thing with the athletes. Maybe off the top of my head, one thing I looked at would be like a show afterwards. It could be something like this, but on site, where you just sit down, you get Brent in there, and maybe a coach. Tomorrow we had, and I'll swap them out. Like, just sit there. That's not expensive to do. You can do it one camera, and you stream it live like this, 3 microphones, just shooting the shit. It could be a lot of fun. It would be easy after that for an editor to like pick out stuff for social. But I think that's all part of the stuff, and I'm hoping Mark's going to listen and reach out, because I'd love to help develop the competitions. When I have a lot of notes on a competition, it's not because I'm being negative, because I want them to succeed. I give you 40 pages on the CrossFit Games and what to fix, and if they would listen, I would happily do it. But you know, it takes courage to change stuff and listen to other people. And I think the competitions does the best will always be the ones listening to the right people and realizing you need to listen to other people to grow. But I think they did a good job in general.
Did you get a chance to talk? What's up, Alpin? Did you get a chance to talk to the programmers of the competition? They should have been the guys from CrossFit Glasgow.
They were there, and they kind of briefed everyone. I didn't talk a lot to them. It's rough doing a briefing for a workout where 18 elite level athletes know they have say in it and know they can kind of alter the workouts if they really want to. It must have been so scary doing the briefing, because you got to see Brent and Pat raising their hand.
Like,
we have
I don't know about
that. Yeah. And
those guys have a lot of experience. If it's who I think it is, it's
but Brent always asks an actual question. Then Pat asks a question he knows they can't answer, just to like not humiliate them, but like make fun of them and say like, oh well, it's like on the way down from a rope climb, you have to show control. And Pat's like, what does that mean? Just show control. He's like, yeah, we all know how that's gonna end. And I get it, because if you don't have to do anything, we're just jumping off from the top, and that's dangerous. But that's what's going to happen if we're racing. So little stuff like that. I felt like they were in. I think they had fun, the organizers, but they were in a different league than what they have been before. And
tough situation. It's like the captain on the plane last night that had to tell 400 people that they were all going to miss their connections.
Yeah,
nobody wants that job.
No, but they did a great job. They did a great job on the briefings, and they kept the workout simple enough, so it wasn't. There wasn't a lot of questions. I feel like the best program workouts is the ones where you can kind of like say it and leave.
Yeah.
When you have 20 questions after workout, you've done something wrong in either the briefing or the workout description.
Nico, there's only a few athletes that had maybe like real games experience with a worm, Vellner and Kelsey Keel being the main two. Did you see them like dip into their expertise and to try to use that?
Does Vellner count? I mean, it's 8.5 years ago. Well, it's 8.5 years ago. What do you do 8.5 years ago? Well,
but they still had the 6-person worm back then.
Well, you could probably still shoot people. I don't know.
Hey, he figured out how to do the parallettes better than anyone after 10 years.
I think they leaned on, especially a guy like Andre, who was there, who's been on a team, coaching a team. 2 teams that was lucky enough to have him as a coach. They kind of leaned on that a little bit. But I don't think Vellner had any special expertise on it. I think they kind of just figured out on the fly. I do feel like Brent's team had a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of the height differences. And we can ask Ariel in a minute, but their team was definitely
black
more
box right now.
I think she froze. She froze on me. Ariel, if you can hear me, Steinbeck. Oh wait, all right, we're gonna remove and try again. Hold on a second. There we go.
No, I don't feel like there's a advantage to the people who's done it before. Maybe Kelsey had some insight because she's done it the most recently, being a team's athlete this year. But 4-person worm and a 6-person worm is a completely different beast. That thing just goes up and down and up and down. And then you got Fikowski and Lucy McGonigal and then Sinoni, and where are you going to, no matter what you do, Brent is going to carry the most weight. And it should be Nick Matthews. So, but we can ask
Ariel.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Very
fine.
good.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us.
I
gotta
Christmas
ask you.
Tree there.
Yeah. Is that
Thank you.
What number Christmas tree is that up in the house? How many do you have up?
I have 3 up.
Okay.
Amazing.
Is that the primary one?
Yeah, this is the showstopper. There's about 1 inch left of ceiling before it hits the ceiling. So we
Someone else
of course.
with you there that wants to say hi?
Oh yeah, it's bring your kid to work day. She's over here coloring. Say hi, Blakely.
Hi, Blakely.
What's up, Blakely?
Yeah. She's working hard.
Well, Ariel, for the last hour, we had Nico on. I don't know if you and Nico had an opportunity to talk while you're at FitFest, but just kind of getting his take about FitFest.
Look at her Instagram.
Yeah, he got me a cool video where I'm doing snatches. It was awesome.
Well, that doesn't mean you guys actually spoke. He just got you a video.
No. We spoke a
transactional.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Nico, what was your opinion? I did not hear what you said. So what do you think?
Oh, I've been speaking for like 57 minutes, so it might be a little.
This is what Nico thinks about FitFest. So in case you're wondering, I'll send you my notes.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
No, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Sunday night was also quite fun, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah. What did you do Sunday night?
Well,
that's a FaceTime, Nico.
No, but so Jason Hopper is a big football fan, your kind of football, and being outside the United States, he couldn't pull up NFL networks or Red Zone or whatever he wanted. His phone didn't work, but I can because I'm inside of Europe. So I was at the hotel bar, and Jason was like, "You can watch it." And I got it on, like, he realized if he keep buying me beers, I'm going to stay there and watch football. I'm not going to leave with my computer, but eventually I figured out a way to give him my password and he could watch it on his phone. So
was he watching the Jags game?
No, he's not that big into Trevor Lawrence, obviously being former teammates, but it's more fantasy football. And he was like, yeah, he's really big into fantasy football.
Gotcha.
Jason's a fun guy.
Yeah.
Ariel, let's take it way back. When did you get invited to do this?
I probably got invited back in October. So before Rogue, this was already on my radar. Yeah, back in October. And the way they presented it, like I literally couldn't say no. They're like, you and one other person come to the UK. We'll cover your flight. We'll cover your hotel, compensate you for your time. And I mean, I've never been anywhere overseas. So for me, it was an immediate, of course, I'll be there.
You've never been anywhere overseas?
Mexico?
No, I'm in
overseas.
Cancun. Do you count that?
No, there's no sea between her and Mexico.
It's international enough.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah, you
That's
get
a great
you
way
get
to put
a
it.
stamp. You get a stamp for that on your passport. It counts.
Right. Yeah, true. So once they said London and the UK and you could bring one friend, it was pretty much a no-brainer because I also got invited to Dubai. So it was like a vacation to London or put in hard work in Dubai. And I think the flight to Dubai was a lot longer as well.
Twice as long, yeah.
Yeah, so London was a nice compromise.
Ariel, can you explain, because I was calling bullshit on the draft earlier. How did that draft work? Do you know?
Supposedly,
right.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
DB got to pick first, and she picked like one male, and then they all picked a male, and then Lawson got to go and pick one female, and then Wunger would go and pick one.
Okay.
That's what I've heard, but based on how stacked our team was,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
No, I find it hard to believe. But even the thing that blew my mind the most was our team on paper statistically was extremely strong, but we didn't dominate. Like, we won with a tie, winning the tie break. So even though our team was what looked like really stacked, we didn't just run away with it.
Were you on Danielle's team?
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
on Danielle's
I was
team.
on Danielle's team.
That's where it doesn't add up to me, because if Emma picks the first female being picked, so Danielle gets to pick the first male and the first female?
Oh, see, I don't know those statistics.
Yeah. Do you know where you were drafted?
Well, she has to be drafted number one.
Yeah, whose draft pick were you?
That's not necessarily true. I mean, I think Danielle picked Dallin first because she knows him, and he was fifth compared to fourth. Yeah, but if Bella Wunger picked Alex Gazan first, it's not like a crazy pick.
That makes sense for power.
Yeah, but I want to know. I want to know who was first overall for the women. That's what I want to know.
Oh,
there are only 2 rounds. There are only 2 rounds of women, and so there's only six to choose
Ariel was
from.
first.
She had to be. If you weren't,
yeah, you had to be first. Yeah,
I'm going to be upset.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, for you.
Number one draft pick. There you go.
Well, that's why.
Right.
I mean,
Texas gets the first draft pick. There we go.
I mean, for us to talk about that, it shows how like something like this needs to be like televised with analysts, just like you would see in other. I mean, it's good, and I'm going to throw that out there and say, B.Friendly Fitness will be more than happy to host this when they do the draft next year. Just saying. But with this panel of experts and Ariel, of course. So
that's right.
Just saying.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I assume me and DB, I mean, we're good. We're friends. So I just assumed because we're friends, kind of like the Dallin situation.
Yeah.
That I was picked.
How many people lobbied to be your +1 for your trip to London?
Honestly, I didn't really open it up to anybody else. I was like, hey, Dylan, does this work with your work schedule? Okay, you're coming.
You'd even ask Blakely?
I actually opened it up to her because I would have easily bought a flight for her. And I was like, do you want to go to London? And she's like, do we have to go on an airplane? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, no, I don't want to go.
No, and Dylan obviously travels to as many of your competitions, most of them as he can, and he's an incredible support system, and seems like you guys work flawlessly in those environments. So
and it was the first time we both weren't on it by any means. He talked to Pedro, Pods, Wads, and Coffee Pods, probably the whole competition while I'm warming up with my team. So it was a nice relaxation trip for him as well.
That's good. Peter's a good guy to talk to. I'm sure that they had a lot of fun conversations.
That's awesome.
So you get over to London, and the one of the cool, like, obviously Patrick and I we were working in Dubai, so we were like trying to stay in touch as much as we could. But something that I enjoyed seeing just glimpses of was kind of the team meetings prior to the competition. Yeah.
So the first meeting they had was with all the athletes. So every team was together and they briefed us on the workouts. And it's a showcase. So it's very unlike any briefing I've ever had. They opened up with, these are the workouts, but they're negotiable. If you want to change the reps, if you want to change the weights, if your knee hurts. So what was originally briefed by the end of the weekend was completely different, which was pretty fun to watch because some people, like, their wrist hurt, some people's knees hurt, so they tweaked the workouts so we didn't all have to do them. So they'd sit us down, all of us, they brief the workouts. From there, we break off into our teams and kind of discuss strategies. And then I think the first workout we did was the machine piece. And I actually didn't even know we were supposed to work out that day. That's how unprepared I was. I was like, oh, we're doing this one tonight? I thought it was tomorrow. But it was a good one to just like sweat everything out.
Well, I mean, you categorize it there as if I accept an invite to do Pi, that's a preparation, that's a serious competition.
Right.
And accepting the opportunity to go here is much more relaxed. And have you ever been a part of something in terms of like, this is a high level fitness event, but I don't have that stress of competing?
Yeah, it was very odd, but it was a showcase, and that's what it felt like. Like they were there to say, you guys are awesome. Thank you for coming. Show off your fitness. And after you show off your fitness, you've got like 3 hours in between events. Feel free to take pictures with fans, do whatever you need to. And they very much, it wasn't high stress, like, oh, I have to get back to get food, to recover, to fuel for the next workout. Very laid back, that I got to really enjoy my teammates and the spectators that were there.
Yeah. What was like the kind of the primary choice amongst you guys during those breaks?
There was a mall about maybe a 5-minute walk from the venue. So between the breaks.
Attention.
Yeah. We walked over to the mall and just picked a random restaurant and would sit down for about an hour. And one of the restaurants we tried was maybe Italian food. The next day was African food. Like, just actually enjoyed what Birmingham had to offer.
Did you get Nando's? That's the question.
Yes.
Anytime you go over to
everyone did. Everyone did.
Everyone. Oh, love Nando's.
It was really good. That was one of them. But it was fun, but our team almost needed a really smart coach to help us strategically place our individuals somewhere.
You were all over the place.
We were all over the place. And we would sit down at these team meetings and be like, okay, who are we going to put together? Male, male, female, female. And we're all like, I don't know. Like, I'm fit. You're fit. I guess let's do that. When there should have been a little bit more strategy, which I think is why we like tie braked instead of blew the competition away.
Ariel, I got to ask you, you've never been outside the United States, across the pond at least. And then your first team competition, you're partnered with BKG. What's he like from your perspective?
He was very serious.
No, he's not.
He was for me. Hopper, you guys know, is a goofer. Dallin Pepper and DB were kind of like in sync all weekend. So for the first event, I was with BKG, and he was very serious. And I like didn't know how to play it, but he pushed so hard that first workout we did. I didn't realize this, but he threw up. We had like 0.2 left on the run, and he legit like threw up and then finished the run. So he was a champ.
Patrick, can you pull that comment from Mike back up, please? Because you mentioned this, Ariel. You call it a showcase, and it felt that way. Like all of the things that you said. And Mike's right. We do hear competition organizers or programmers mention this. We're not trying to find the fittest on earth. This is to showcase the athletes, and that takes a variety of different forms. It seems to be, from everyone we've spoken to and seen from, that this actually felt that way and was this way in application. What I'm curious is, like, what is a better word for these other events that are trying to put the athletes on display, but it doesn't have the same feel as something like this?
Right. I've never experienced anything like this before. So like Rogue is very intense. They might say it's a showcase, but when the prize money is that huge, like it can't be a showcase. I think this being that there is no prize money, it's like, hey, just go out and have fun. It doesn't matter if you get first, it doesn't matter if you get last. But they also have to incentivize, like, hey, we'll pay for your trip to come over here. There's no stress involved. You have to do showcase things to make it a showcase.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And I mean, the choice of language has been a bit of a topic of contention over the past couple of years, specifically when it comes to, is this a competition? Is it an event? Is it a workout? Is it a test?
Right.
And I think that it's it's one of, to me, it's can be one of the challenges when trying to bring in new audiences. Is like,
Right.
What am I watching again? They're using 3 or 4 different words interchangeably. They said that was an event, but the whole thing's the event. And, so I think that could be potentially an area of improvement, and, just kind of add into the mix something that we haven't really seen before that felt more like a word that we have heard used a lot more before.
Right. And it kind of, for me, felt the first time I felt like a professional athlete, because they catered to us all weekend, and they're like, we don't really care about your performance. The audience just wants to see you. So whether that's squat cleaning 220 or squat cleaning 185, just get out there and smile and wave to the audience, because they're here
Look
for
pretty
you.
doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they're like,
no problem.
Take pictures with the people. Like, they're like, as much as you can engage with the people. It truly felt like performance wasn't in the question. Of course, look good doing it, like you said, but like, just be there for the people. They just want to see you.
So what you're seeing, Marines walk you back. They had from the Navy of the UK. They had the athletes walking back and forth. So you were always protected by the Navy. It was kind of cool, a cool touch to
they're
waiting. You can explain, Ariel.
Yeah, whenever we would walk over to the warm-up area and walk back to where we would keep all of our stuff, we were escorted by Navy SEALs, I guess. Yeah. They were huge, and they would just be like, are you comfortable? Like, do you want to take pictures? Do you not? And they would just escort us if we ever felt unsafe. But I mean, everybody there was so sweet. They weren't needed, but I felt cool with them like escorting me back.
Did you practice any British accents while you were there?
No, but I almost feel like their British accents made them hard to understand. Like here we'd say water. They would almost say like Walter. Like, where's the Walter? I'm like, what are you saying?
I don't know.
You're speaking the same language, but it definitely sounds different.
Exactly.
And even within, England or the UK in general, depending on where you are, it can, similarly to the United States, you can have a huge, diversity of dialect or intonation.
Yeah. Right.
Were they as been as Nico?
Oh, they spoke English first. I'm just gonna say. Yeah. I know I'm outnumbered here.
Yeah, they created English, Nico.
Yeah. Hey, right. Ariel, who worked harder than this weekend, you or your manager, Jared?
He probably did. He was all over the place.
Well, I saw that he did one of the ATHIX workouts with Cooper as well, I believe, or partnered up with him.
Yeah, he did.
He did the full thing,
which is fun. He did the full thing. Yeah. It's a long workout. The coolest thing, did you guys see the VIP event that they held?
Wanted to ask you about that. So this is like where you guys had a chance to more or less coach?
Yeah. So I want to say this was Thursday night, day one of the competition, one of the evenings. They had VIP tickets that they sold, and these VIP people, there were maybe 100 or 200 of them.
It was Friday before the event.
Yes, Friday before the event. They broke them up into 4 different groups, and they had the professional athletes teaching them through a clinic, which I thought was really cool. One of the groups was Daniel Brandon taught handstands, handstand progressions, handstand walks. Another group, a bunch of athletes helped with weightlifting, like Nick Matthews was there, all the strong athletes, Jack Farlow. And then Brent Fikowski led another one, which was all machines, how to move well on the ski erg, the bike, the rower. And then I helped, me, Vellner, and a few other people, Emma Lawson, helped with the gymnastics, which was like bar muscle ups and kipping. And these VIP people had 20 minutes at each station and just got like coached by us, went through progressions of how to move better. And like we worked on kipping swings for pull-ups, and then that led into bar muscle ups. I thought it was a really cool event.
Have you done anything like that before?
No, never. I mean, I've coached classes before at a CrossFit affiliate, but never like a specialized skill. I thought it was a really cool event because not only did the VIPs get to learn something, but they also got like to see Vellner up and close and see Fikowski and see Daniel Brandon. A really cool experience. Yeah, and Loewen.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah.
Were there any, while that was going on, were there any other people in the building watching?
Not for the VIP event.
It was blocked off for them.
Yeah, it was blocked off just for them. And I don't know how much their tickets were, but I thought it was well worth it.
Nico thinks that they lowballed
the tickets were way
sales.
too cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
Rebecca Sauznabar, I had the pleasure of meeting Ariel at FitFest. She went out of her way to meet fans and even gave my daughter her Noble wristbands. She hasn't taken them off since. The VIP event was so well run.
Oh,
And a picture,
sweet.
look at that picture with BKG.
Snorri and BKG.
Super
Yeah.
serious.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
That was one of the cool things because the athlete, what do you want to call it? You had a relaxation area and a changing room and stuff. And it was like right inside the hall, and people were like waiting outside. And if we saw someone like waiting, I want a photo with Brent or Ariel, we kind of go in and grab you and say, can you come outside for a second? And that stuff would never be possible at the games. Like I wouldn't be able to interrupt you mid warm up, say, can you spare 5 minutes? Like, and that was a
Not
cool
even
part
at
too.
Rogue will you get that.
No, because there's something on the line.
Exactly.
But there, and while obviously it wouldn't make sense to integrate something like this during a competition, I do think that there could potentially be some opportunity or incentive to do it after a competition. For example, Wodapalooza is coming up. There's going to be 100, well-known athletes there, whatever it is, that if maybe an affiliate or a brand wanted to say, hey, 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock p.m. on Monday after Wodapalooza, we're looking for 2 men and 2 women to host some kind of event, this VIP type of a thing, whatever. I'm pretty sure you could, and maybe you say, we'll cover an extra night of a hotel for you. We'll do whatever. I'm pretty sure there's some athletes that would do that, and it would be easy to kind of dovetail that in with the competition experience.
I do feel like brands are good at doing that during the games.
Though.
Like at the games, they do it like Big Day in CrossFit. There's stuff going on all week with coaches, Fraser and stuff. So I do feel like that's starting to happen more and more.
And they do it on the front end of the competition brand because they know that athletes, the first thing they want to do when the competition's over is not think about the competition. They want to go relax. They want to enjoy. If they're in Miami, go enjoy Miami. So these athletes are getting asked to come, a day earlier to run a class at an affiliate or do some sort of activation where anybody who wants to come early can be there and experience that. And they're already paying them within their, sponsorship contracts to kind of appear and do that, which is awesome. And I think if you could do it on the back end as well as the front end, that'd be great. But they are doing it on the front end.
I'm actually gonna backtrack and agree with you guys because one of the patterns that I've noticed at competitions over the years is athletes have no idea what to do with themselves the 1 and 2 days before a competition. Give them something to do and give them something that the people can do too. I think that's
the only thing they. Yeah, their main goal is as soon as they get anywhere at the competitions, they look for a Whole Foods. That's it.
Look for Whole Foods. Don't get sunburned. And
exactly.
That's the incentive. Come to this event, and we'll take you to the Whole Foods with a $300 budget.
Why hasn't CrossFit partnered with Whole Foods? Is there any games athlete, and Ariel, you can answer this, that does not go there during the games?
You want to meet the CrossFit athletes?
During the games, it's during Wodapalooza. That's the staple. It's during Waza.
You want to meet the athletes in Miami? Just go hang out.
You go to Whole Foods,
and people do that. People do that. They lurk at the hot bar, and you're just you're staring at them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at them! They're getting the same food as me." And it's this weird feeling like you're at a zoo of just watching fit people try to eat, and then it's everybody else.
I had the pleasure last year. Me and Con went to Whole Foods, and going with Con Porter. And had more people come up to him and ask to take a picture with him than they did Danny Spiegel, who we ran than me. There's more people that asked to take a picture with Con than Dan. But no, it was kind of like a meet and greet because it was like so many athletes were there, and there's like a bunch of athletes who had, and it was weird because Con had never met like Danny Spiegel, and they've never had a conversation. So their first like interaction together was at Whole Foods. It was just kind of funny. But in any case,
Nico.
Yeah. Good question. Way to go. But no, I mean, I do think that is probably a smart thing. It's just a matter, just like with all things in CrossFit, it's just trying to find that in.
Mm-hmm. Ariel, because of the low stress environment relative to other competitions, did it give you a chance to get to know any of the athletes that you didn't know before, or to know them in different ways that you had previously?
Yeah, I've never talked to BKG before, so I got to talk to him. I've actually never really talked face-to-face with Hopper before. Well, I've known who he's been, of course. I've talked to him a little bit at the Rogue Invitational this past year, but I actually really got to know him quite a bit over there. Same with Dallin Pepper. I've never really chatted with him before. They're just super goofy. I mean, of course it's low stake because we're competing, but it was fun to see them just kind of like be themselves. Like at 10 o'clock in the evening, me and Dylan would come in from dinner and they'd be just playing cards in the hotel lobby. Like any other competition night, we'd all be in bed, recovering, eating food. So it was neat to just see people like actually relaxing and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's that much integration between the men and the women at most CrossFit competitions because you're competing at different times. You have different locker rooms, all the, whatever. So when they're competing, you're recovering or warming up.
That's a good point. I've never watched any of the guys' stuff like while I'm competing.
What about some of the girls? Did you get a chance to see Jen Muir or Lucy McGonigal?
You know what? That was the weird thing. Like, I'm really good friends with Alex Gazan, but I didn't talk to her a ton because once we were with the team stuff backstage, we'd warm up with our team, we'd strategize with our team. So there wasn't really a lot of mingling between other teams. I said hi and talked a little bit, but not enough to like get to know Kelsey Keel because she was there, or get to know Lucy there. It was really just focused on the team because a lot of our team stuff was like, we don't know where to place everybody. Who should go first? Who should go last? So there was always a lot of mingling before in the warm-up room.
How was the worm?
The worm was good. It was harder than I expected because the worm is so long. Like for the first event, it was clean and jerks and then rope climbs. And we actually, I don't know if you guys were able to watch any of the events. Were you?
I think the first day that the competition organizers gave the barbell spin a chance to stream some of it, and then that did not happen on days 2 and 3.
Okay.
And that first day, I think, was just the machine workout. So very little opportunity to actually watch what you guys were doing if you weren't there.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. Well, for that event, we were in the lead up until like the last round. And on the worm, I've never really used it before. I was at the front of it. The back of it, there's almost a little bit of a delay. So it got to where we would be on this shoulder and the back of it would still be on the right shoulder. And then we had to drop it, reset. So just really having to work as a team and figure out how this worm moves on the floor, because backstage we could do 3 reps fresh and look awesome. But on the floor under fatigue, we had to drop it a few times, reset, and go a little bit slower.
Does it give you a new perspective into the team athletes and maybe a new respect for what they're able to do?
Yeah, it's hard because as an individual on that workout, I would have dropped the worm, took a deep breath, and then picked it back up. But when you're on a team, if the team says we're doing all 6, you have to push through it and do all 6. So it gave me respect for like just straight grunt work, and you have to push through.
No thoughts about maybe switching over to the team side of things?
No. Team.
You just got third at the games.
I know.
Yeah, she's got time.
Team for me would be retirement. As long as individual, there's still a little bit of light there, I'm going to ride it out. I've only ever done individual sports. So team events are actually really hard for me.
Did you pick on your team, though? BKG basically announced he was going to go team in 2025.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of what he said. When Annie's back from pregnancy, that must be 2025. Him, Catherine, Annie, and one more. I'm thinking Tola is going to go team. He basically said that on camera.
That's been a talk for a while now. I mean,
but now he like put a number on it. Like,
I know
she wanted to go team.
Yeah, I know Annie.
I think there are a lot of these athletes that are just like tempted by it to some degree, and they obviously have some different opportunities in the off season. But to make the switch within the actual season is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, to BKG's defense, he's been an individual how many times at the games?
10 years.
Yeah. So I don't blame him. Yes. For me, I'm going on 3. So I'm still very, very small compared to BKG's big experience.
He has the most top 10 finishes of any CrossFit athlete in the world. Right, Brian?
Yeah, that's awesome.
8. And the other guys who've done the 10 in a row, Noah's making the transition. I'm actually not sure if Cole Sager is retired or not, but that it's like
nobody knows.
I've had this question as long as I've been watching the sport, because the sport's still, growing and evolving, but it's like, what is the time frame? Like, how long can you do this at the highest level? And it's not just a physical question. It's a lifestyle, it's a physical, it's a mental, emotional, all of these things. How long can the body hold up? And all of those things factor into it. And we're seeing, on the women's side, we've seen Annie, obviously she took some dips out for pregnancy, but she's kind of extending that timeline. And on the men's side, those are the guys.
Right.
Well, athletes seem to have more fun on teams, though. Like, I've talked to several athletes, even, Noah and Chandler included. And when I ask them, which one do you have more fun doing? They say, I have way more fun on a team because you're holding each other accountable. And it's, a little bit less pressure on you. You're trying to live up to your friends and the people behind you, whatever they want you to do. So you can kind of share the load and burden a little bit. But then at the same time, I mean, an individual, there's way less drama. So if you kind of like to be by yourself, then you kind of just live your own life.
Right.
But
I have been asked. Go ahead.
But when Noah and Chandler said that, these are coming their team experiences during Wadapalooza where it isn't the games. There is more stress. I mean, if you ask Annie and Tola from their Reykjavik team, I mean, Nico knows this better than anyone because he was doing behind the scenes. There is stress. There is a lot of stress, especially, so for when an athlete like Chandler knows, I much rather do the team. It's fun. Well, that's coming off just their experience at Wadapalooza when there isn't that much stress and it's a fun environment. So when you incorporate a whole season revolving around being on a team, it will be stressful. So for Noah, it's going to be different. For Chandler, it's going to be different this year. For a lot of these other individual athletes that go team, it's going to be difficult. So, Ariel, I think you're fine where you're at.
It's fun when it's fun, the teams. I think it's
the past 2 years. Sorry, leading up to the games, open season, Spiegel will always shoot me a text and be like, hey, if you want to go team, I'm ready. If you want to go team, I'm ready. But logistically, when we sit down and look at it, it's like, okay, you'd have to be wherever I am like 50% of the week. And with a family, and Dylan owns a business and a kiddo, it just logistically doesn't work for me either. As fun as it would be to be on Spiegel's team.
Yeah.
She can maybe come to you. She's got a little bit more flexibility in her life.
True, but there's no guys here. That's the only negative.
Yeah.
We'd have a team of 2.
Well, I think
I'm sure you'd find a few.
Yeah. With that team, you can
put
probably
it in the comments. Put it in the comments.
I mean, Sue.
Yeah, right.
I would say 9 out of 10 times that Patrick and I get a question from teams, they're looking for girls. They're not looking for guys. There's a lot more guys that are available. So if 2 of the best came out like that and said, hey, we're thinking of doing a team this year, send us your resumes. You'd have to be willing to come here. I guarantee you would get some suitors.
Well, guys don't win the CrossFit Games. Girls do.
Girls do.
Any season for the past 15 years is all about the girls.
It's been a fun off season so far because, like Brian said, we've had a number of athletes reach out to both me and Brian, and we've been kind of playing matchmaking, putting together teams for games. It's been really interesting and really
I just
fun.
pass them to you.
Yeah, but I enjoy doing it though. So if the team aspect is going to be really interesting this year, and I just think when you see something like the FitFest, when you incorporate a bunch of high caliber individual athletes on a team, it's almost like fantasy football or these fantasy camps where you're like, man, if I could put a team together with Daniel Brandon and Kelsey Keel, who would my 2 guys be, and stuff like that. So it actually, and I think Halpin does a good job with this. He mentioned something, would love the Invitational come back to see 6-person teams from USA, Iceland, Canada, etc. compete like this. And it's and Rich Froning is famous for saying he picked his team with China Cho based off of his experience with her at an Invitational. And that's one reason why. Yeah, Madrid. And then in the I think 2020 he said the same thing about Scott Panchak, because of the Invitational. So, and like you were saying, I mean, Katrin and Annie, they are very good friends, best friends, and that is one of their dreams, is to compete as a team, and BKG, and all three of them competed at an invitational on a team, so they already have some of that experience.
Ariel, was there a particular workout that you really enjoyed over there in London?
Yeah, believe it or not. So originally the workout was supposed to be Isabel. You choose one male, one female, 30 snatches for time. But once a few people were very wanted to change the workouts a lot. It was like the same two people every time, Patrick and Fikowski. So they were always like, we don't want two people to suffer. Let's include the whole team. So they changed it to be, you have 2 females and 2 males. One male runs out, does 20 snatches, a little bit heavier than Isabel. When he finishes, the next female runs out, 20 snatches. When she finishes, the next male, and then finish it off. DB finished it on our team. And that was actually the most fun I had, was just 20 snatches for time, because it was just send it, and our team won that event. So it's always more fun when you win. It was really fun. Yeah.
Plus you got a nice reel out of it.
I got a sweet reel. And actually, I was the last female to the bar. So all the males went, and I was the last female there, but I beat all the other females off of the bar. I was just like ripping and gripping. So that was a really fun experience. And then our team got first.
Workouts like that can elicit some really cool scenarios, where you might not get to see people always compete with each other or whatever. And then it just lines up perfectly where you get to see them do something a little bit special like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the crowd loved it. From what I heard, they were screaming, because it was a race of all the males and then all the females, and you can like actually see the progression as it went.
It's almost like a 400-meter relay in track. If you think about the time domain, 45 seconds or so to do the snatches, 50 seconds, whatever.
Exactly.
Where you're going to place your best athletes. I mean, I guess it had to be male, female, but you decide who goes first and second. Someone's going to get out ahead. Someone might reel them in. It's going to be tight at the end, and then you get a winner.
It was really
I wish
cool
we
to
could
see.
have watched it.
I know, and they changed it. They changed it 5 minutes before we went out, because it was supposed to be every athlete did 20 reps. So the whole team would kind of waterfall out. But then they changed it to only 4 teammates.
Almost like Dubai. Yeah. So next year when you go to Dubai, it's kind of a similar thing.
I'm not gonna lie, I heard a lot of things. I heard a lot of opinions saying Dubai is a little crazy. Professionally run.
It's definitely different. There's some cultural things. I was speaking with Mia Hesketh. She's competed 4 times there individually now, 1 on a team. And after the athlete briefing, she was just like, you could immediately tell the athletes who've been here before and those who haven't. So like if you come in there and it's a first time going there, there's definitely things about the way that they run the competition that are unique to them.
Okay.
But if you just kind of temper the expectations, then it's, like Roman. I thought Roman was a good example of this. It didn't really matter what was announced, when it was announced, what was changed, whatever. He was just like, tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And it's like, cool. I think that's the mentality. If you're going to accept an invitation or qualify for Dubai, that you have to go there with, and just realize that just like every other competition, it's unique in its own regard. The tests are going to be the tests, and the fittest are going to probably do the best on them when everything is done.
Right.
I think
that's good.
I think all the Americans that accepted their invite, I talked to all of them, and they said that, they would definitely return. But for most of them, it was the first time there. And I think between me and Brian, we kind of reached out to them and told them this is what your expectations are. And once they got a hang of that, especially after that first day, that first brief, they're like, oh, okay. And there's a word in Nico. All of us been to Dubai here, minus you. There's a word. It's called inshallah. And once you embrace that word, God willing, if you embrace that word, inshallah, you'll totally understand. Just So every time there was a change, I'd look at like Devin or Kyra or any of the Americans, and I'd say inshallah, and they'd shake their head and they're like, okay, all right, we'll be fine. Go out there and compete. And at the end of the day, it's definitely an experience.
Right.
All of us have experienced Dubai some multiple times, and
well, and like similar Brian, to. And actually, I wanted to ask you about this as well. But similarly to going to the UK, there's an opportunity before or after the competition to experience culture and just a different part of the world. And I think somewhat similarly to what you had in the UK. The competition at Dubai doesn't last all day. It starts at 3 p.m. and goes till 9 p.m. And so you can like appreciate the mornings, the weather, some of the things there. And a lot of the athletes will stay for a few days afterwards to go out to the desert or, visit the sites or whatever. So, and did you get a chance to do anything like that in England?
Oh, yeah. We went with 4 friends from over here, went with us, and they are huge travelers. So the first 3 days we were in London and did all the London things. We saw the sights, and then we went to a professional soccer game one night, which was electric. Professional football game.
What do you watch?
Tottenham versus West Ham.
Oh, Tottenham.
And
was that at West Ham? Was that West Ham Stadium?
The Spurs Stadium, the brand new. It was beautiful.
Insane.
It is.
Yeah, and we got VIP tickets, so we had all the luxuries, almost front row. So we did it right.
Have you ever been to a professional soccer match before?
No, I don't think I've been to other than the CrossFit Games, a professional sporting event like that.
What?
And yeah.
What? As a Texan?
Yeah, I'm not a big
That's weird.
football
I know,
person.
so weird.
What is this?
But the people, so we went up to the bar. I just observed because I had to compete, of course. And
of course,
they would just sing all these chants like for an hour before. They had a live band there just singing like about how horrible West Ham is because that's who they're playing. And it was the most magical experience ever. Just all these people like in a pub chanting about how horrible this other team is. It was pretty cool.
From an athletic perspective, were you impressed by what you saw in the game?
Yeah, their agility, footwork. I can understand basketball because hand movements, but the way they were moving the ball with their feet, yeah, blew my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the speed of the game, you can watch, maybe you don't watch, but you can watch them on TV and you can have some appreciation. But especially if you had a chance to be up close, one of the front rows, and see how fast they're moving, how little time they have from when they get the ball to make a decision to get rid of it, how aggressive and physical it can be. It can be somewhat alarming if you're not prepared for it.
It's amazing. And it's also kind of humbling because here I am, like I've got a jersey in the Noble tent at the CrossFit Games, but the level of like following and fans and their store that they have of all their athletes was pretty mind-blowing to see.
And those teams.
What jersey were you wearing? Were you wearing a Tottenham jersey?
Yeah, Sans
with
number 7.
Number 7, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was their best player. So of course we're like, if we're gonna buy a jersey, we're gonna get the most.
They lost the game though.
One.
It was an upset victory for West Ham.
They lost.
So much for all those songs.
I know. That was the only bummer because once they lost, basically the night was over, and we were just like, okay, let's go back to the Airbnb. It
is like the fans, like they live and die by their teams, and it's pretty intense. Sometimes good, sometimes maybe not so good. But that guy's he's the best player in the history of Korean soccer. He's been playing with Tottenham for a decade or more. He's a celebrity over there. But the other really cool thing about the Premier League is it's very international. Like every team probably has a third to a half of the players that are from the UK, but then there could be from all over the world, and so you get to see some of the best from.
Tottenham had one in the starting lineup that day. One UK player. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the people we were sitting next to were from everywhere.
It's the world's game.
It is.
Yeah. Okay,
so we did that. And then we went on a bus tour one night. So it was like a really fancy bus, and they drove us around the city and showed us all the cool sights and fed us dinner. We walked around a lot. I think our average was like 24,000 steps a day, just walking around. We were all over.
It's an average day for Bella at work.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
No kidding.
Yeah. It's so funny because I was after the event, I'm looking at like Vellner's, Fikowski, Nick Matthews, your Instagram, and you guys are like, are you guys just traveling in groups because you're all going to the same spots, taking pictures in front of Big Ben and stuff like that? I'm like, are you guys just missing each other, or are you all together in like one tour group? But it's cool to hear that you're all separate, but all still going to the same spot. It was kind of neat seeing that, because I had the chance to go to London this summer for the first time, and I did the same thing that you guys are describing. And it's definitely cool that you had an event that not only took care of you and brought you out there, but also gave you time to kind of like, explore the city and take some time and, just take in that culture. And I think as CrossFitters, I think that's important, especially at the end of the day, you are an ambassadors of the sport and the community and the methodology. And I think it's really important that you actually get to enjoy that.
Yeah, it was really cool. And the coolest thing was it was Christmas time when we were over there.
Yes.
And they do Christmas hard. Like every pub, every street, everything had a Christmas tree, Christmas garland. And so I asked the locals, I was like, man, you guys love Christmas. This is ridiculous. And it got dark at 4 p.m. there. So they're like, yeah, honestly, we have to celebrate Christmas hard because it's depressing when it's dark at 4 p.m. So I was like, okay, now I understand.
Yeah. So you went home and put up another Christmas tree. So it's cool.
Yeah. No, it made me appreciate that at 6 p.m. when it gets dark out, I can see my Christmas tree. Because there was one night after the soccer game, or we had done something, we rolled out of bed at like 12 p.m. and we're like, okay, we have 3 hours of daylight before it gets pitch black. Let's go enjoy the city.
I have another question. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
No, you ask your question, Patrick. I'll follow.
Okay. Oh, you go first.
No, you go. I mean, Dylan is a great guy. Everyone that's met him, never heard anything negative about him. I'm sure there are some bad things, but I can't wait. I mean, but I can tell you that. At some point he's traveled, especially all this travel you've done from Rogue to the games and stuff like that. Does he ever just like, or you guys just communicate like how blessed you are or how lucky you are to do this, or that this is your life? Does he, how appreciative is he as a partner to kind of just look at you and say, thanks for bringing me along on this? I mean, do you ever have those moments?
Oh yeah. He'll have his moments where he's sentimental, but the night before we left London, we were like walking to the venue for the last event, and I was just getting emotional. Like, how is this my life that I'm walking in the UK, people are stopping to take pictures with me, I'm getting paid to be here. So we reflect on it a lot, but I think those are cool events, of course. But even last night, we're sitting on the couch here, and we just like look at each other, and he's like, you podiumed at the games. What the heck? So I think we're still not over the games. So all of this afterwards is just like up in the clouds, a blur. But it's still hard to comprehend, to be honest.
Now that you've brought it up, did that change your perspective for the next season, having had that success this year?
I don't even think it's sunk in yet, to be honest. And I'm just kind of like,
is it because you haven't gotten paid by CrossFit yet? Is that why it hasn't sunk in?
Actually, that hit in London. So we were at a pub, and I opened my bank account and had a very nice surprise.
Nice. Wow. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's congratulations. You got that big paycheck.
Thank you. Oh. Yep. So I immediately invested it, and now it's like it never happened. I'm just kidding.
Having done this once, do you think it's something that they'll bring back again? Is it something you would participate in again?
Maybe. I love being home, as bad as that sounds. Going to London was fun, but a week away from my daughter is a lot. A week away from Dylan's business is a lot. Mm-hmm. We've been to London. Would I want to go back to London? I don't know. But I have heard rumors that Rogue might be overseas this next year. So if we go overseas for Rogue, I don't think I would go overseas again for FitFest.
Mm-hmm. Got to convince Blakely to go with you next time.
Yeah, she would have hated it. She would have walking outside in 40-degree weather, 24,000 steps.
You have to adopt the Norwegian mentality. There's no bad weather, only bad clothing.
True. I did actually have something super cool. I posted I was in UK, and I had a random company reach out to me and said, like, we see you're in the UK. Come by our store and come pick out some clothes you'd like.
Oh,
So
wow.
I got to go to this random store in the UK and go home with London clothes. I just felt like I got treated like royalty all weekend. It was awesome.
I mean, it is, and I totally hear what you're saying about like leaving home, leaving business, family, and stuff behind. But this is definitely a true thing. And it can happen the other way too, of course. But when athletes have the chance to travel to new places, fans are super grateful, and fans can mean many things. It's not just the people that show up at the events necessarily, but it can be someone who owns a store there and they're a fan of the CrossFit Games and they're a fan of Arielle Loewen and they're like, holy cow, she's the third fittest woman on earth and she's in my neck of the woods, and they will want to do nice things for you or say nice things to you. And I encourage especially young athletes, and that can mean, it doesn't necessarily mean age, but when they're just having some success and getting some invites to take some chances to go see a different part of the world. Sometimes it's not always going to be paid for, but sometimes just try to find a way to make it work, because you never know what's going to happen, and you're going to meet people that will surprise you.
Yeah, I agree. The funny thing, Patrick, you asked about Dylan. All weekend, we were with friends. So we'd go anywhere and he'd be like, let's make a toast. And he's like, to Ariel. She's the one who brought us to London. So all weekend it was like this running joke. And I'm like, guys, I get it. It was pretty funny.
All right. Well, we're going to try to wrap up in the next few minutes. Nico, Bella, Patrick, one more question if you got it.
I got it.
Texan. Let's hear it.
I got it. Okay. So you kind of were talking about it. So the British brands are reaching out to you because they see that you're over there. Doing an event like a showcase, do you think it opens up more opportunities for you to market yourself in the off season or even moving forward working with international brands?
I think so. That was kind of like a one-off deal, but it was neat to like grow my fan base, see people who support me in person and kind of give them a hug and a picture. It helped grow the business side of it, as weird as that sounds. Like just me being in another place, meeting more people seeing me work out in person, stuff like that. It opened a door for hopefully more opportunities. And everyone there was so polite. This is what blew my mind. Like at Rogue Invitational, they'd be like, hey, can I get a picture? Totally fine. Over there in the UK, they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Could I bother you for a picture, please? In their accent. And I'm like, you're not bothering me. You don't have to apologize. They just were so sweet.
Nico, any last question or thought?
I think I'm good. Kind of sad you don't want to come back.
His mood completely changed.
My continent pointed. No, to be fair, that's my best friend and my best man at my wedding. But yeah, to be fair, Birmingham in December might not be how we want to showcase, to use this word, Europe. There are better months and better locations. It was kind of it was raining every day and it was kind of gray.
It was beautiful, Nico. We're just homebodies, and Dylan's been sick for like 2 weeks since we got back, so travel does not do well for him.
Patrick, anything else to close us out?
Yeah. I mean, what are your plans heading into the off season? Are you doing Wodapalooza? If so, can you talk individual, team? Obviously you've done team in the past with said Alex Gazan and
Carrie Pierce.
Carrie. Yep.
Yeah.
But
the plan. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So what? Yeah. How's the off season look?
The plan right now is Wodapalooza individual. I decided after London to decide on Wodapalooza officially, and I feel good physically and mentally, and I enjoy working out, so I was like, might as well. I haven't booked my flight, I haven't booked my hotel, but the plan is I'll be there. No team. I actually wasn't asked to be on any team this year, and I'm kind of okay with that.
And no, you did not do the individual last year, right?
No, I didn't. And I had regrets because the workouts looked good.
But the previous year, podium finish. So we'll be looking to see you in the mix.
I know. I'm excited. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
are you
going
to stick around though for the weekend to watch the teams compete, or being the homebody where you head back home?
My plan is to head back home Sunday.
Okay, so you stick
So
around.
I'll stick around for Saturday, and I'd love to make appearances at some of my sponsors' booths and all that.
Yeah.
Cheer on the team competition, and then head home Sunday.
Cool.
Well, great. It's great to get the insights from Nico and Ariel. Different perspectives. Both obviously had the chance to be there. See what happens with FitFest going forward. If you missed some of the coverage that Nico did, some really good interviews, some fun interactions with the athletes there on site, and we'll see.
And Nico, take this opportunity to pump up what you got going on. So you got a podcast. You just started a podcast. You got
Look at Bella. She has her handle as her name. I'm way behind the curve apparently. Yeah.
I got yelled at last time.
I got a podcast. It's sometimes it's in Danish since I'm Danish, but we're starting to do more English speaking episodes. So on Thursday there's going to be an episode with no other than Matt Fraser. So tune in there or go catch a previous episode. So it's Fitness for Time podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And 4, Brian, is spelled with a number 4.
4.
You did include that there in the subtitle, so well done.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Nico will, and if you're not following Nico, he will be at Miami. He will be at Wadapalooza. So if you need a freaking talented content creator, please reach out to him. His Instagram handle is actually not there. It's NWR Productions, right?
And also, if you're a content creator with some spare time, I have some work I can't handle myself. DM me because I have a team that needs some photos and video. So send me a message if you've got a little spare time.
I might actually have someone for you, Nico.
Yeah, we might have some. We'll talk. But thanks, Nico. Thanks, Ariel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Love to have you guys here on soon. But with that being said, Bella, you have anything? Final thoughts?
See y'all in Miami. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, Brian, you have anything?
We're going to have a couple of the founders of the Association of Fitness Judges tomorrow on the podcast. So different flavor of conversation, but it could be an interesting one. So that'll be tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. And then Thursday evening, we'll have Ed and Aunt Haynes on. That should be a fun episode. Those who don't know Ed or Aunt, they are, they're brothers. One's a coach, one's an athlete. They live in Hong Kong, games athletes. It should be a very fun episode. 13 hours ahead. That's why it's going to be a late episode. But yeah, we have a full week this week. We appreciate everyone for joining us, especially Ariel and Nico from Texas and from wherever Nico's at now. I don't even know where he is half the time.
Denmark, Europe, somewhere.
Somewhere in Europe.
Bella, I'll see you in the playoffs. And Brian, congratulations on Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And as always, be friendly, our friends.